CEO typically understands the lead flow naturally well, but it's the agents.
My biggest skill with sales is being a perceptive listener and being like really present and listening to what they have.
I'd get Gladys Smith on the phone and she's like, yeah, I want to sell now. And I go to zap that lead over and it just rejects because they don't allow a duplicate.
I'm big, obviously, on using specialized tools and services.
All right, guys, welcome to the Leads to Deals podcast, where we're going to talk about everything from leads to deals, and everything we talk about leads to deals. If you're here, it means you're driven to level up your life, skyrocket your financial success, and master the art of sales, entrepreneurship, and persuasion. This podcast is for you, the go-getters, the industry disruptors, and the future deal makers. We got a real cool technical guest on our Leads to Deal podcast today. And I say technical just because he's been able to really make some moves in the tech side of the REI space. His name's Carlos Zamora. He's a serial entrepreneur, a disruptor in the tech space, especially CRMs. He's created such an amazing product in the past that he was successfully acquired by what I consider to be one of the most prolific brands out there in the REI space. And he also has a super cool REI podcast called Let's Talk Real Estate Podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Carlos Zamora.
Un placer. Thanks for having me. We got to work on your Spanish. So when I visit the office in person, we can talk a little bit in Spanish. But grateful to be here, man. You were one of our best episodes on Let's Talk Real Estate as well. People love that. So I'm pumped to be here. I'll be in Colombia next week. Not going to be able to shoot up to the office, but I'll be back again soon and definitely want to see you, the Natalias, check out your whole setup. I've seen it on video. I just got lunch with and was hanging out with Ben Tooff, a mutual client of ours this past week. He had a great time up there. So definitely want to see him through in person.
Dude, we'd love to have you here. And it's a vibe. You know, I tell these kids here that like this definitely doesn't exist in Colombia. And it really doesn't exist necessarily in the States either, Carlos. It's not as prevalent as I think these kids think. I think they think there's a Lamasu on every corner. So I'd love to share it with you and go in that experience, man. But one of the things I'm super excited to get into it with you is like, all right, I've taken a company to market before. And I know the pains of that. I mean, the diligence and the attorneys and the structuring, et cetera. You were acquired, the CRM that you and your partners, you had built from scratch. That CRM product, what was its name? And then when was the acquired date and who acquired it?
Yeah, so the CRM is InvestorFuse. It's still up there, investorfuse.com. You can check it out. We launched February 2016, so almost 9 years ago to the date. We officially got acquired maybe January 7th of 3 years ago, 2022. Kind of like a full circle thing. And I absolutely love sales. I think everything's sales, but I also love like, you know, kind of stuff that you were talking about a little bit with Jamil last week, kind of like universe, subconscious programming, just things like that, I think is like the ultimate lever of everything. But for us, we were wholesaling full-time in Baltimore when Dan Schwartz, the owner of that wholesaling business, was tweaking out our Podio CRM at the time. And we actually had the first Carrot website in Baltimore back in 2014, 2015, 2016. So the last year we were full-time wholesaling, the only thing that we were doing was running pay-per-click with AdWords Nerd. Shout out Dan Barrett and his team. They're still around, rocking, kicking. You probably know them. Yes. And re-engaging leads in our CRMs. We were doing voicemail drops, drip campaigns, standard stuff now and good practice. We'll jam on today a little bit. But we were really just hitting it hard with taking good love, care, and attention of inbound PPC leads, but really re-engaging our database and getting a lot of engagement from that and picking up sales convo, having good notes. So we'll hit on all that. The reason I'm bringing that up is because it's funny just how life can come full circle. Being, you know, using the Carrot product when we were wholesaling. Trevor Mock, the CEO of Carrot, absolutely amazing guy. I don't know if you had the chance to connect with him. He's probably been at, I see the CG belt, you won an award there. He's probably been out there, but yeah, he's been a mentor to us since InvestorFuse first year in business. Went to a my first event was 2016, going to a Sean Terry event. Trevor was out there giving us free game advice, everything, you know, being a baby bootstrap SaaS company, software as a service company in this space. So it's funny how life can work out like that. ending up being acquired by them a few years down the line.
And you think about those like fostered relationships, those relationships when you had the opportunity, you were the first person who was on Carrot in your market. And like, it wasn't just like you came in and you shut them off. I'm gonna just use it and I'm gonna rock and roll. You must have fostered some type of communications with them, and that developed over time to where they were embedded enough in your business to know that you had built this awesome product. So they got to essentially monitor your success. Is that how it kind of happened? And then they were interested?
I think it's unique in that way. Monitor our success. I didn't really have a relationship with Trevor till InvestorFuse.
Sure.
I think Dan and some of the early, some of the first like 20, 50 Carrot customers, and this is back in 2014-ish range, were spending one-on-one time with Trevor. Obviously a lot smaller company than it is today. But yeah, I think they were really monitoring our growth, always giving us feedback, things to look for, just people we could lean on for advice. They would check in. But Trevor's also an extremely savvy and smart business guy too.
Yeah.
And really a master relationship guy. Like when we go to some of these masterminds, like the shirt I have on Family Mastermind, which is connected with Collective Genius now.
Yeah.
He was one of the first people in that mastermind, and he's one of the like highest held. Like if you have I'm big on relationship equity, and like everything ties back to sales, everything sales. Yep. But he's really one of the people that has the highest relational equity with people in the space. So I think he always kind of kept tabs on Dan Schwartz, the original CEO of InvestorFuse.
So I got to know, how was it tumultuous? Sounds like it was like, hey, we knew each other. This wasn't some outside private equity firm coming in. So I'm sure there was some communications that could be had that weren't always through lawyers and stuff like this. But on the acquisition side, Carlos, like, did it come down to the wire? What was it like actually going through those final steps and before it was, okay, it's official, it's done?
So probably, let's see, if the actual ink got dotted, I want to say like January 7th, 2022, probably 6 to 9 months before that was when it started getting in talks a bit. Very chill, very transparent. To be honest, we were already, how chill and how good of a relationship we had, we were already working on stuff together before the deal even got officially inked. The only thing where I want to say consultants, I don't know if they're technically lawyers, but more so like business M&A consultants / lawyers started getting involved towards the end. And I actually saw the presentation at Family Mastermind. I think the average acquisition goes through like 6 or 7 rounds of due diligence. And that was almost exactly what we were, just like editing. And I can't even remember off the top of my head what it was, but like small adjustments to the contract and things like that. But overall, super, super chill. And I'd say probably a pretty unique acquisition. John and I are still on full time. That's the tech wizard. So I'm not the tech wizard at all. I'm more so customer relationships, sales. Beautiful. Now stepping more into partnerships, which has always been my passion. But John is actually the Wizard of Oz behind the scenes that builds that. So he does all the product stuff.
What's crazy here, Carlos, is I would put in my top 10 like CRM infrastructure, like skill sets, things that I know on my end, because from previous businesses, before I ever got into the REI space, I was the one who represented our internal team to build out our own custom CRMs. And so, and we took that into a really big, large company, ultimately pulled that product out and brought it into other verticals. Nothing as widespread as your guys' disbursement, but I know how tough that can be. And, you're building, a lot of times how we built ours is we didn't build ours thinking it was going to become this big monster that it was. And so some of the code was built in a way that it couldn't withstand the future house. It just wasn't built with the intent to be bigger or some of these other things. And then the other part is it was highly customized for our business. And so at what point on your guys' CRM journey where you're like, okay, we've built this out for ourselves. Now we might need to take a step back and keep it simple again. Maybe we need to take away some features, or it's not as intuitive for the outsider into this. So like, what was that journey on your product cycle?
It's interesting. So thinking about it, before InvestorFuse technically launched, we did kind of like a proof of concept, or Dan did, because I wasn't really involved in this at the time. I was kind of seeing what software plays he was making, and I was like intrigued. I was still managing leads, going to Baltimore row houses, talking to, our average avatar was like a 55-year-old woman that smoked cigarettes. So that was like my day-to-day, just managing leads, calling from home and going on a couple appointments. But the
I hope when they do this in post edit, they just throw up a lady like smoking a cigarette.
Natalia's will hook it up.
Yeah.
But going back to it to kind of give some, some software, some Bootstrap SaaS insight for a little like proof of concept play, Dan Schwartz actually partnered with a guy, Joe McCall, who you may know of.
Yes, very familiar.
Really popular in the space. So they actually launched a one-off like payment product, not like a recurring SaaS model, like a monthly or annual sub, called Real Automation. It was on top of Podio. It was like a one-time 1,500, 2,000. I still think there's some people on there. And that was like 2015. So they rolled that out and then had enough demand for an actual SaaS like subscription with support, training calls, upgraded features as they come out versus just like a one-time stagnant type thing. Your question about like simplicity, man, we had a bunch of people on the Podio version. I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with Podio. Open source, you can add your own apps in there. You can go in and do a bunch of different back-end automations with tools like Globiflow, Zapier, stuff like that. What we came to realize, this is a few years, of just talking to a lot of wholesalers, real estate investors on there. We're huge on the 80-20 principle. They were really only using 20% of the CRM to get 80% of the results, really only a handful of features. It was something crazy. Like an InvestorFuse on Podio was maybe like 60 some different applications between three different workspaces. A lot of it was like configuring stuff, like connecting to a Lamasu lead form, for example, things like that for lead sources or just back-end configuration stuff you didn't really touch, but it's still overwhelming. It's visually still overwhelming. The UI or the user interface is a big thing of building software. So what we realized is probably 2 years after is we need to make something more simple. And we also realized that we were kind of to your point too, we realized that we were building a product that we didn't really have full control of the back end. We were dependent on Podio. So Podio got acquired by a company called Citrix. They haven't done much with it since that, but that was also a really good play that we really did proactively. We did it like way far in advance because there's still a ton of people that are still on Podio. But that was something we realized too. We need to make it more user-friendly, simple, intuitive, more like iPhone or Apple usage. And then also just build something that we actually own the digital real estate on.
Yeah, I think what you guys have as a product from an infrastructure standpoint, the way it's just that flows, you can actually see the flow of the lead in the pipelines. And I think that's important for a lot of guys and gals out there, especially, the CEO typically understands the lead flow naturally well, but it's the agents, the guys that we just hired. How easy is it to take somebody with sales skills who most people who are good at talking, that's their profession, they may not be the best at the computer stuff. How can you make it so simple? And I loved your guys' at least lead interface. I love how it looks. I love how it flows. And I think it's one of those just clean and simple. And then obviously behind it has got everything else you need. So I know that you guys, there's a quote, I think it's a George Washington quote or something. He's writing somebody and he says, "Hey man, I'm so sorry. If I would have had more time, this letter would have been shorter." And that always rocked my world. And that's the same thing with development too. It's like you take so much time to actually pull away so that way all that they're interfacing with is the absolute necessary features.
I love that. One of my best friends is a huge George Washington enthusiast. I need to find that quote and send it to him, but that's spot on.
So here's what I was thinking. I say, okay, so here's Carrot. And for the guys and gals, can you tell everybody out there, they're like, oh, I'm in the REI space. I think I've heard that name before. What is Carrot?
Carrot is a marketing platform that focuses mainly on websites for now, but they're high converting, high performing websites that are SEO optimized for search engine optimization. So what does that mean? And I'm not a tech guy myself. That's like that's like my upper limit of tech guy. I'm a sales guy and relationship guy through and through. What that means essentially is, in your business, and one thing I wanted to talk about today with sales is a really easy leverage point is having an online presence and a website that helps you build trust and credibility.
Yep.
So what Carrot has done with over 11, 12 years of data are make websites that really accomplish two things. And this is going to be depending on your experience wholesaling, doing real estate, what your marketing channels are, what your lead sources are. At bare minimum, if you're doing outbound, direct mail, you're not even running paid ads or focus on SEO. If you're leaving voicemails with people, telling them your website, Carrot's going to give you a very, very fast site, both on mobile and desktop, that converts really well, meaning your traffic that gets to your site at a higher clip is actually going to fill out their information and submit it to you in simple terms. That also is just super, super fast and just performs really well. We do some psychological things on there, the last piece of that first point. We lay out the pages in a way where a person's more likely to submit their information. Simple things like changing the button from submit to get my fair cash offer, things like that. You've seen it. We limit the amount of fields to ideally under 5, because in general, the more fields they have to fill out, there's more resistance that goes there. So that's one piece. The other piece is SEO, search engine optimization. And you guys, if you guys are watching this, you can do a search in your market. Do something really general, sell my house fast, cash, whatever market that you're in. Most of those results on page 1 under the paid ads, you're going to see 3 to 5 roughly that are going to say sponsored. Under those, typically over half, about 51% are going to be carrot sites.
Yep.
Our strategy, I'll just tell you our strategy for those and how we've gotten to perform is content heavy, meaning we give you tools that you can essentially search what keywords sellers are putting into Google. Sell my house fast cash, sell my house without a realtor, sell my inherited property, city, state, whatever. What's in your market? We show you how difficult that is to rank for, because Google has to make like a decision in a fraction of a second. Who's the best real estate company to pair with what this person searched? Yep. So our strategy, being content heavy, is we take those keywords that you want to rank for after you do some research, and then make it easy to automate putting blog posts that have those keywords on your site. We like to put an emphasis that SEO is a long-term strategy, but it's really, really solid because it's organic. They're coming to you organically.
For everybody, he said it right. SEO is a long-term strategy, but it's an instant reward on reputation management. Mm-hmm. And so if you're going to have any other marketing channel, I don't care if it's driving for dollars, if you're going to talk to a seller, your seller will Google you. If they can't find your website, and heavens forbid they find your competitor's site, there goes their marketing dollars. You just paid for your competitor's deal. But being able to find a clean site, a professional looking site, one that actually loads, one that's actually got great uptime, that's what I love Carrot, because for so many people coming into this industry, I just need to focus on revenue producing activities. Heavens forbid, I got to go learn WordPress. I got to understand hosting. I got to figure out DNSs. I want something out of the box that will rank and that will allow me to personalize it, which is, I believe, exactly what I've witnessed firsthand Carrot does.
100%. 100%. And the way that you say it reminds me of our software coach, Dan Martell. Like, when a surgeon goes to work, a surgeon should just get paid for doing the actual surgery. They shouldn't be calling and following up with people, scheduling the appointments. They shouldn't be doing marketing, running split testing Facebook ads for, different surgeries or whatever. Like how your shop is dialed up, even for the podcast. I'm meeting with Natalia 1. I'm getting automated texts and emails, just so you can come in here and do your thing.
Yep.
On Wednesday afternoons. Same thing with your real estate business and marketing. And we talked about this when Scott was a guest on our podcast. Like, as much as Carrot gives you the tools to do your own SEO, and I think that's super, super important, I do have a strong belief that some real estate investors shouldn't be spending a majority of their energy on marketing. Yeah. And they could look at outsourcing that, somebody to do cold calling, someone to run ads for them, or bring on a hire internally. And that's a whole other conversation itself. But I do believe that a large amount of people should be having somebody else do marketing for them.
So I'm not trying to put you guys in a box, but when I think of Carrot, I think of guys who are getting their feet wet. They're getting out there and they're getting deals. And they're like, hey, listen, I want to deploy fast and intelligently. And sometimes they have built their own websites and it's crashed and they've had issues. They've heard great things about Carrot. But to me, I would think for you as a leader in the industry, you got a unique dynamic. You have a CRM that is for... The CRM to me speaks to an advanced entrepreneur. Not necessarily you have to be complex, but Carrot speaks to me on the entry side. It has both sides. And so it feels like you're able to accomplish from both things. Like, we have a really good entry point here, and then this monster's here when you're CRM and it's starting to do traffic. How do you guys balance? Are you for more newbies or are you for more OGs?
That's a great question. And honestly, that's a strategy game for SaaS companies in this industry. Like, who are you a product market fit for? What people can you go after? What's the TAM, the total available market that you can actually sell to and have as customers? So it's interesting now is InvestorFuse, a lot of us, so you guys are on the website, a lot of our customers are on the middle tier or the top tier plan. So we have companies that are pretty big. The Nick Perry's, he's one of our biggest, he's been with us since year one. We have a lot of people that have been with us since like the first 1 to 3 years. So we do have a lot of people that are higher volume on InvestorFuse. The play that we made though is if you go to the Carrot page, you guys can just go to carrot.com/podcast. I should have shot that to the team before this, but that kind of has a breakdown of everything Carrot provides. What we're launching now, or we recently launched, is Carrot CRM. So it's the same exact technology as InvestorFuse, 9+ years InvestorFuse team building it. Orange interface instead of blue. But we also, this is like a SaaS strategy, is we change up some of the pricing. So if you guys look at the pricing page there, we are launching, and this is a plan of ours just to get more of the market, a completely free plan for one user. Automatically connects your Carrot website. You don't need to have a Carrot site to get the free CRM. So anybody listening to this, that's a one-person shop. If you're using spreadsheets, pen and paper, whatever, you can get a free CRM that has drip campaigns in it, text and email. On the paid plans, we have text, email, ring us voicemail, direct mail. You get, support, integrations, everything from there. You can connect your iSpeed to lead. But yeah, the free plan, we thought, and knock on wood, toca madera, it's working pretty well just to get some of that market share. So the InvestorFuse CRM, we have a lot of the big people that are running a ton of ads on PPC, 3, 4, 5, 6 acquisitions people, and we want to start getting this year more of the newbies and funnel them in and upgrade them.
So you heard it here. If you're just getting started, you're that one-man show, you can get a free Carrot site. Right? Carrot site with CRM?
Carrot CRM. Carrot CRM.
Carrot CRM.
Yeah.
Got you.
Carrot CRM, yeah.
So
the site, though, if you look at the pricing, you can get an $89 a month Carrot site. And dude, if you get that, you're going to save. Here's one thing I know that you're big on, going back to the surgeon. You guys need to get an idea of what you value your own hourly rate at.
Amen. Great way of putting it.
Think about that. Read a great book, Naval Ravikant. I can't remember his book, The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. That's like one of the biggest things I took there. It was one of my favorite books of 2024. But even just getting a site, $89 a month, where so much of that stuff, unless you have like a background in doing web development, me and Scott don't. I don't know about Gene. Gene's smarter than me.
Gene Blinkoff is on something, man. He's got a great team.
He is. They do. But yeah, man, I mean, that's a no-brainer. If you see yourself in real estate for long-term, get a site set up. But yeah, the CRM is completely free.
Great. I love that. So diving into it, what's the, I'll ask the polite question first. What's the CRM feature that everyone must have? And if it doesn't have this feature, go.
I don't know how much of it's a feature versus, and we can talk a little game, like sales game of selling B2B, like CRMs and software. I would say there's 2 paths that you can have with CRMs, specifically in our industry. There are tools that are all-in-ones, where they offer kind of their positioning is you have all these tools in one thing. So they have like a dialer built in, maybe some landing page or website, maybe some rehab evaluator, property management. They kind of have a lot of things. There's a perceived benefit of consolidating all those tools under one roof. Like I get that. That's pretty nice. The other path is what we are. We're specialized CRM. So what we do is we've gone deep 9 years on just simple and easy to do lead management. So essentially we set up and we integrate with other specialized tools. So you should have somebody cold calling for you. You should have somebody that you can have a trustworthy PPL provider or running ads for you. So instead of us, for example, this is a decision we came across a bit ago. Do we build our own internal phone system for doing like calling and texting? Or do we stick kind of to like our values of being a specialized tool and just integrate with a phone system? So we integrate deeply with smartphone and Dialpad now. Dialpad's a newer one, but that's how we see it. We're specialized. So you're using more tools, but you get more juice out of the squeeze of each tool. So what's the expression? It's like something a master of none.
Yeah.
It's like
joke. I don't know. Well, yeah, master of none. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to hit us in the comments on it.
Yeah, someone, Gene will know it.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how we see it. And in my opinion, I feel pretty convicted that specialized tools are going to outperform all-in-ones at some point. You're going to reach threshold there, and then it's going to continue to outperform them. So even if there is lower pricing or whatever, I'm big, obviously, on using specialized tools and services.
So when I came into this space, Carlos, I saw everybody on Podio. And I just blew my mind because I was like, wow, first off, everybody's using it and it didn't have the visibility, the accountability, anything that I wanted to see at scale, most of the versions that I saw. And I thought people were putting pennies in front of dollars. They're like, yeah, but it's free and it's cheap. And so I'm like, yeah, but you're missing out on deals everywhere. But the number one concern I had, and I wanted to see how crazy you think I am for this, is I said, your CRM shouldn't be your lead generation platform. Like, you're like, I have 40,000 leads. I'm like, no, you don't, bro. You got like 300 leads, and then you got 39,700 data records, and all your KPIs are skewed. You don't really have everything segmented or cleaned. So how do you feel about that? Do you think that your lead generation should happen somewhere else and your CRM should only be for people who have raised their hands?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into that. Like, one thing that's a challenge with the all-in-ones that have prospects in there, it's harder to train your team on. Like, the cliche saying that's so true is like the best CRM is one that your team's actually going to use.
Yes.
Between simplicity of the CRM and our training and customer success team, Carrot CRM and InvestorFuse put you in the best position to actually use the CRM and all the features. So prospects really just cloud that up. And yeah, we would rather just integrate with all your lead sources. We connect all your lead sources for you at sign up and then anytime throughout your membership at no additional cost. And that's gone through phases, dude. Like, we used to give the option of like people connecting their own stuff, or like you can choose whether to pay for onboarding and stuff like that. This has been tried and tested. Like, our retention has been, knock on wood, through the roof when we do our onboarding flow the last between 2 and 3 years, where they schedule integrations, kickoff calls as soon as they sign up. They go through their, who they're using for PPL. We have everybody in that drop down there. How they're cold calling. Is it in-house with a subscription loan dialer? Are they outsourcing it where we make a custom web form for them? We want to take away the time that they're using, because everybody only has a certain amount of like energy and mental bandwidth. Same thing going back to the surgeon analogy. Like, anytime that you're in the CRM, we want you to get trained, on board as fast as possible, then actually getting to the aha moment in software, like actually using the tool. And you're like, oh, okay, this makes sense. This is why I'm going to be in here. And a CRM is one of the stickiest tools, because it's really like the hub of your acquisitions business.
So sticky objections you probably hear a lot. So from the B2B sales side, Carlos, dude, I'd love to do this, but bro, I already got $30-some thousand sunk into this other thing over here. I just can't get away from it.
Yeah, we hear that a lot, especially like Salesforce builds outs, and there's some great Salesforce ones. I have a lot of horror stories of a lot more than 30 grand to people sending on Salesforce. It depends. I mean, if they've sunk that much time into it and they're committed, and here's my sales. I think my biggest skill with sales is being a perceptive listener and being like really present and listening to what they have. Obviously, to be prepared, know the products, know certain things. But specifically with Salesforce people that have came over, I really harp on our onboarding process. We can also go into Salesforce and do a little customization to push leads over one-off. Because there's typically a little bit of like a gray area or gray period when you're working out of 2 CRMs. So I typically lean on pitching or selling our ability to make that process as easy as possible. And I don't shy away from, dude, changing CRMs can be a pain. Like, that's not something like, fun,
Yeah. It's genuinely, it's probably one of the most painful experiences that a company will go through. But once it's done, and if it was the right move, it's additional deals. I hear a lot with Salesforce, and for some reason, it just feels overly complicated. We do a lot of integrations. We're a call center. I've integrated into everything. The thing that blew my mind, and I'm not trying to throw them under the bus, is how it handled duplicates with no alert that, in fact, a new lead came in. And so what would happen is, like, I'm going and representing a guy in Tennessee. He's been in business for 15 years. Of course, previously, at least one point, they responded to TV, or one point they responded to mail 4 years ago. I'd get Gladys Smith on the phone, and she's like, yeah, I want to sell now. And I go to zap that lead over, and it just rejects because they don't allow a duplicate. And then if they own the zap, then no one's monitoring it. And so I kept on having these issues over there with that on the duplicates. How does InvestorFuse handle dupes or alerts for dupes?
Yeah, no, we have full dedupe in the system, which is really nice. And typically when I'm doing like an overview of the platform, I say that there's 2 main leverage points of InvestorFuse, which of course, guys, it's all around sales. The first leverage point includes a few things, but it's all around the lead coming in, getting auto response, text and emails that go to the lead, custom routing the lead, either individual person, round robin, weighted round robin, first come, first serve. The second leverage point is all around where Scott's at when a lead re-engages you in conversation. So the way that we designed InvestorFuse is what we have is called opportunity owner. So there's one person that's always responsible for one single lead. Like you can't escape that.
Right.
What happens is you're following up with this person manually, scheduling follow-up calls, setting up with text. Then you also have drip sequences going off, text, email, ringless voicemail, direct mail pieces. The second leverage point of the system, in my opinion, is the opportunity owner feature. Not only does that keep every single person organized with, hey, these are Carlos's leads, these are Scott's leads, these are Gene's leads, but anytime an existing lead tries to re-engage you in conversation, call, text, email, if they're on a sequence, it pauses. It doesn't duplicate a lead. It gives that person action and puts it at the top of their due today called reply to seller, letting you know an existing lead is trying to get back in touch with you. So Carrot CRM and InvestorFuse put you in a really good position to have quality conversations at those two sales points of leverage or points of the lead's life cycle when it first comes in and then when it re-engages you.
What's the worst thing you've seen in somebody's CRM before they hired you?
That's a good question. I mean, I kind of think it's like, knock on wood, I've tried to get better at this the last couple of years, but like, when you go to the dentist and they ask you how your flossing habits have been? Yeah. It's honestly kind of like that. So really a lot of like tasks pile up. Honestly, stuff just not dialed in. I think this is a better answer. This isn't the exact like question, but I think something is just getting really organized and having good hygiene on any way that you're touching base with leads and getting really dialed in, which leads to real dialed in KPIs. For example, or to give context, having a tracking number specifically for the number that's on your website, in addition to a form fill that's on your site. We would consider those two different campaigns, but then you lump them in as the same channel. They're both inbound traffic from your website. That could be organic. So I think that's just more good hygiene. But the worst thing I've seen in CRMs is just like, I guess, tasks pile up. And that's mainly from Podio. And that's another reason that we did the action-based system with Carrot CRM and InvestorFuse is it literally walks you through, like Scott was talking at the beginning of the episode, it walks you through what to do. You have to choose a next action before you move on to a next lead. And you only have one action per lead. You can add additional tasks, but for the most part, it's just what's the one next thing I need to do with this lead. With Podio, you get a little bit, I forget the exact term, but it's essentially you become like numb to the notifications and tasks because they just like pile up like crazy. And then you're working out of like custom views and stuff like that. It's just not clean. So that's probably the worst thing I've seen in people's CRMs.
What's the most frustrating thing when somebody says, man, we've been on the program, just doesn't seem to have improved something, whatever. What's the most frustrating thing that you find in people who aren't using InvestorFuse to its potential?
I think it overlaps a little with that answer. And it's interesting, man, like our industry and just like our shared customer avatar, man. I think people, including myself, I'm the same way. I'm shiny object syndrome. I try to focus, but I think it's easy to be at like masterminds or you go to a REI group or you hear a podcast and people just like wanting to jump ship or even the basic human psychology of like grass is always greener. So I would say it's probably like unjustified people jumping ship or wanting to jump ship where they see one feature in another tool, but it's like they don't realize all the stuff they currently have now. Plus the opportunity costs of changing tools. If you're out of commission for a week or two, or you miss a lead that comes through from your stuff not integrated or your phone system's not being integrated. So I'd say kind of that, probably short-sighted vision, grass is greener, shiny object syndrome. But I have understanding too, because I have some of that myself.
Yeah. So I do a lot of CRM integrations and I do a lot of account audits, brother. The one thing that gets me all the time is the lack of insight, whether it be from software or human-driven nature, of last time leads were contacted. I'll use one for example. About 2 weeks ago, I was speaking to a guy, and he's the CEO, but he's never in the CRM, and then he's got his VA, who's his head closer, and we're chatting, Carlos, and he's saying, well, we didn't get any deals or whatever, and I was like, cool, no worries. Let's go ahead and do a quick spot audit. This is the gospel. The first 3 leads that I audited, 2, they came in on my birthday, which was January 8th. I said, let's go back in time, because when you want to find a problem, you go back. You don't look at the most recent leads. Let's go back a little bit. So I looked at 2 leads on January 8th. They were called only on the 8th and the 9th. No more, blah, blah, blah. Then the third lead, I said, okay, let's pick one the halfway in between. Hadn't been called until that day, but the lead came in 21 days ago.
Oh, yeah. I mean, dude, I've seen infinite stories of that. Not taking good notes, not touching the leads enough time. I mean, you shouldn't pay for the marketing if you're not going to follow up with those leads.
Well,
You know?
and that's how me, you, and Gene, and some of these other guys, it's like, hey, you can have these great products, but user adoption is everything. Mm-hmm. And if they don't actually execute on it, because InvestorFuse is a phenomenal, the Nick Perrys of the world use this platform. And so InvestorFuse is a phenomenal CRM as long as you use it. My go-to feature that I think is a must in everyone is the drip sequencing. I think that this industry has failed in general to monetize drip sequencing to its potential. So tell me, in your words, you're the CRM guys, why are drip follow-ups so important, and then kind of how they work in the InvestorFuse platform?
Yeah, and we talked about this a little bit when you were on our podcast as well. I would add an additional feature there, and I think why we serve really well, especially we serve any type of lead source, but especially inbound leads, would be the autoresponders too. So that's a custom text email that can it can pull the seller's first name, their address, any custom field that comes in. But that helps with speed to lead. Like we put a big emphasis, as much as we're going to hit on drip campaigns and stuff, we do put a huge emphasis on manual follow-up. Actually, dude, get on the phone with these people. The Nick Perrys of the world, their students that all come in, their entire program uses InvestorFuse too, all his students. It's like, dude, you're probably going to call this person 3 to 5 times, swap whatever phone number you're calling from, hit them 3 to 5 times again before you choose to put them on a drip campaign or schedule follow-up for another date. But the auto responses are huge. To answer your question, the auto responses are huge to help with speed to lead. I almost say that's like taking out like an insurance policy on your marketing. If you don't have auto responses set up and someone that can ideally call them in like a minute, you shouldn't you shouldn't really be doing marketing. So that's one piece. The drip campaign sequences with the action-based system, we make it really easy for you to just have like salespeople plugged in there and walk them through a very general acquisitions guide. You can customize that a little bit and choose what you want to do. We just give suggestions, but that's just one of the steps that you can choose. So depending on your own SOPs of how you're managing leads, and that's going to vary the type of lead, what type of manpower that you have to work those leads, how many leads that you have coming in that you're touching, how many leads each person you want to have a rep, like the capacity that you want them to work. But ideally, what you're doing is you're choosing to put them on a sequence. So it's just part of the drop down. Ideally, you have templates saved. We give you a couple to start off. Nice. But just think of what seller lead scenarios you come across most often that you can just have essentially automated there. So it's as simple as choosing what template or what scenario you're coming across with that seller, clicking a couple buttons, and then that thing's rolling. And it'll pause when they respond and do that whole thing where they notify the opportunity owner, like I mentioned.
So the autoresponders, that's a really great answer. And I don't think that I even appreciate as much as you do from experience the value in that. Walk me through just briefly. If somebody just fills out a form on my website, is the autoresponder of value because it's after hours? Is it trying to buy their engagement until my closer can contact them? What's the point of an instant autoresponder if my guy's just going to call it in a moment anyways?
Both. And I think it's a good question. I would say both. I think one thing it helps with too is eliminating buyer's remorse. If these people are going on your website after searching, probably like that's not a super chill scenario. If they're like, oh man, like I need money, or like, oh yeah, I'm a tired landlord, I need to get rid of this. Like it's typically not a very chill situation that they're already searching on Google, sending their information to a stranger. The automatic text, I think, helps with eliminating buyer's remorse. Like, okay, this is a professional company, they're working with me. Pitch Anything. I love that book where one premise it talks about is like the croc brain or the reptilian brain. One of the very first things I love in like relationships or meeting someone or sales is showing that you're not a threat to them, just from a very like human, animalistic nature. So I think it helps with that as well. Just saying, hey, it can pull their first name. Hey, Scott, what's going on, man? This is Carlos with X company with Carrot. Dude, just saw your info come in. I'm going to take a look at your property. Just in case, and this is one thing I want to hit on the interview too, just in case you were curious about what people have said working with us, I wanted to shoot over our testimonial page on our website. just to check it out. And you could do that with anything. About us, if you focus on a specific niche, probate properties in Forsyth County, North Carolina, whatever. Hey, I just want to show you this. We're going to give you a call as soon as we can. But just in case you were curious, also feel free. Here's my cell. You can text me here.
Gosh.
So it helps with a lot of that stuff, the auto responders. In addition to all the science and studies behind speed to lead. I don't have the exact numbers, but it's like crazy. Like it's directly exponentially higher. Like literally, if you can call them a second after the lead comes in, up to 5 minutes, the scale is like crazy. Then it tails off after 5 minutes, like pretty drastically. So overall, I think it's that a lot of psychological, putting them at ease, showing you're not a threat, showing you're legit with trust and credibility in the autoresponder, and just teeing whoever's doing the lead intake, teeing them up nicely. They can refer back to that text and email. It shoots an email too. Text and email.
I really appreciate this conversation because you've changed how I'm going to do business just based off of that recommendation. I was doing it the same way, which is better than nothing, but I think I need to add this too, which is as soon as they fill out my opt-in page, the congratulations is the testimonials. So that way they can absorb that while I have time to call. But they could literally have X'd out of that and they're losing that ability. And the fact that you would send them an automated message and then say like, here's my cell phone, it's personalized. Here's a testimonial or a photo of me and my wife or whatever is going to be in your testimonial video. It's such a beautiful concept because it has 100% open rate. Whatever text message you send them, they're going to get, and you've set the pathway, the foundation. I know this isn't a big scary guy or a big scary company. So autoresponders, I love that. I want to, though, now talk about my thing I probably complained about on your podcast, which was I felt that this industry does a terrible job of terminated lead nurturing, where people said they want retail or I would never sell to you. I'm going to work with a realtor. I never would sell for that price, et cetera, et cetera. How do you guys handle not just the leads we can't get in contact with, but the leads who we pitched and they said no?
Yeah, so we have a couple features. One is called resurfacing, where if you mark a lead temporarily as dead, not dead, but like you're just not able to convert them right at this moment, you can have them go out of your active pipeline. This goes a little bit with like the UI, SaaS mindset of not overwhelming your acquisition and your salespeople. They're just looking at leads they can actually work and convert right now, ideally, or at least working through those. But you can customize that person to come back and manually get followed up with a follow-up specialist, lead manager, whatever people you have to leverage for that exact reason. Because unless the lead's dead, we still want you doing manual touches to it in addition to the automated follow-up sequences. But we see that as a big thing. And like, I think a lot of that, and again, here's where you should get an idea of what you value yourself at an hourly rate. And here's why another reason that I say, hey, you probably shouldn't be, setting up tech stuff or doing crazy integrations and learning all this stuff. What about if you spent some time learning a new exit strategy or hiring a mentor and learning something where you could monetize more of those leads? I think that's the root issue. And then kind of like the symptom is poor CRM usage. If you don't have those exit strategies, or you can just get lazy or have negative self-talk, or you're creating your own reality where it's like, man, I can't close these leads. I think you should try to see that through a world of like, man, if this person hasn't sold yet, like I can do business here. I can help them out.
Yeah, it's time and circumstance. And so when you have terminated leads, drip sequencing, you'll catch them when the time changes or circumstance. What I learned really quickly coming into this in my first couple of years in the industry, Carlos, is that somebody would tell me, hey, I would never sell for that price. I need X. And like, unfortunately, those numbers don't work for us.
That's a majority of them.
Yeah, exactly. And then the market would go up. And then a year from now, my drip sequencing would hit and I could now offer them what they wanted because the market had gone up as much. And so my same margins were protected. And that's the reason why they're just never dead. Like you said, until the house is sold, there's still a deal there.
100%. 100%. I want to touch on the drip campaign sequences too, because I saw Jordan Belfort book in your background there. He talks about, I think it's like 7 impressions on average before someone's ready to buy from you. So the drip campaigns too, in addition to the auto responses, guys, that's where you can link different sites, whether it's a Carrot website or not. Carrot makes it super, super easy. And we have the data the last 10 years of being the highest quality, but you could link to different pages on your website It could be testimonials for showing some social proof and happy customers. It could be about us. It shows Scott, it shows his family, it shows, whoever the company is, it shows about you, how long you've been in business, what your why is, your company values. It could be the specific thing that you focus on. Probate in Forsyth County, North Carolina. You come across as that real authority, like, oh man, you could even make really easily items like an ebook. You can make those really, really easily in the day and age that we live in. If someone comes across you, and I mean, there are people that run, a lot of people run like TV ads and stuff with InvestorFuse and Carrot CRM and Carrot, all that stuff together, man, you made yourself such a credible resource for what they're looking for. So the drip campaigns, I love the idea of putting those in emails too. Even once a month, you could do market reports that link from your website, anything like that. And that goes more towards the 7 impressions that Jordan Belfort talks about. I like stuff easy and high leverage, dude. Yeah. I like stuff easy, automated, and high leverage. Like I'm all about doing hard work, but I'd rather do really smart, precise work and then just find out how to automate it. And over the course of time and compound effect, like you see it pay off in the back end.
Yeah, optimized hard work for sure. You make me think of something, dude. I in a previous business, we bought a monster billboard downtown Chicago, like spent all this money on it. We got more traction from sending out a drone to catch video of it and then sending that video to people via text than we ever got from the actual billboard. The billboard didn't actually drive a single deal. The video of the billboard, and that's the thing for you guys and gals out there who have done TV before. Let's say you did TV before and you just didn't, whatever, I'm just using that as a medium. It didn't pay off. That video of that commercial through his drip sequencing that he's talked about is going to get all that money back because you have a professionally recorded TV commercial. So it's just about taking your collaterals or your assets and deploying them intelligently through something like InvestorFuse.
100%. And even like on a bigger scale, like you see companies like Coca-Cola or different people like that run either like Super Bowl ads or ads during like NFL or like sports games. Like when you think about it, that's not going to make me, or like the person watching a football game or a basketball game or whatever, that's not going to make them necessarily just like go and jump to the store or go on Amazon and order a whole thing. What that's going to do though, is it just plants a seed in their subconscious. So over the course, the lifetime value, that's a big software metric. The lifetime value you're increasing just because they're more likely to buy it at some point in the future. Yeah. And it's an ancillary source of marketing / just like seeping in their brain, really. You're 100% right on that.
I'm going to ask you the question you probably get asked all the time, but what's your vision on AI impacting your guys' particular product vertical?
Huge. We're massive into AI. On a personal note, I'm more on the beginner, probably more advanced than the average person, but I consider myself very beginner. But we're embracing it head on and want to utilize it literally as much as possible. Where we're even making it like a value of our company being AI driven. So we're working on that on the 2 general aspects. On the marketing like web side, we want to be able to unleash a lot of AI features, whether that's going to be in like market analytics, site creation, SEO analytics. That's definitely going to be coming in the near future. On the CRM side and on the website, we actually have AI already built in for writing up blog articles. Nice. So on the plan, you can see it there. You can just take different pieces of your website and essentially rewrite it with AI. You press a button and it'll just rewrite the entire segment that you highlighted. That's getting revamped as well. And then on the CRM side, what everybody asks about is the AI lead management. So we have some suggested like messaging, kind of same thing when you're in the activity and communication log in a lead. What you can do right now, we've had it rolled out for a while, is you press a button. It just gives some different suggestions, essentially a prompt from like ChatGPT, but it'll give you some automated suggestions of what to say, and it deep queries the property information and all the previous communication. So if there's been like offers, it can reference that. If you say the property needs a new roof, it can reference that. If they've rejected 2 offers for $100K and $110K, you can reference that. But we want to move towards AI lead management as well. And I think that's going to be, I don't want to put a timeline on it, but that's going to be pretty soon, where it can at least set appointments or set appointment calls for folks, which is really, really exciting.
Yeah, I in the call center space, it's been impactful so far for us in helping us do quality assurance. But just watching how much the technology's changed, I haven't even told my team. I just saw this yesterday. Gemini 2, they just rolled out Gemini 2. It now does like seamless, flawless audio to transcription to then analysis, where we've kind of had to pull it out. Like, here's our audio and let's go transcribe it in this third party and then let's ingest it and now get our coaching feedback, because we built out this whole coaching module where I can take any transcription, feed it in there, and it'll score them based on our standards. I even pulled in references from Belfort and Zig Ziglar, and it's like, this part's cool, but this part was a pain. But now literally the Gemini 2, we literally can have the whole thing housed in one, which means high velocity call analysis, literally instantaneous, if you will, once it's up and firing. And so just like the amount that it's grown so fast, I really see in the communications module of InvestorFuse and your guys' product, that ability. It's not just that autoresponder, it's that autoresponder. And if it is after hours, able to articulate until the closer can get on the phone or respond in a way where it's not just a voicemail over text.
Yeah, 100%, man. It's super exciting, and the pace of AI stuff coming out is crazy too. Because I think Grok 3 just dropped a couple of days ago. That has some deeper level like voice back to back that you can talk with. Another thing with us too, a couple things with us is, one, we also want to do AI like lead scoring, where it'll essentially tee up, like, depending on a bunch of different factors with the lead, what's going on with it, last time it was touched, where it came from, conversations, where it's at in the lead's life cycle. It'll pretty much tee up for you and your team, like, hey, these are the ones that you should focus on for manual follow-up, in addition to just the system itself. The other thing that's interesting with Carrot internally as us as a company is we are going to be exploring, we should be rolling it out like any day here. Actually, we've been training the model for a while, but a tool called Simple Talk. So that's like something crazy where we've been teaching it just information about Carrot, common objections, pricing. The goal is to get them to book a call with somebody over on the sales team. But that's crazy powerful. Like I want to say it can do like 1,000 calls in a minute or something like that. It's like a database and things like that. So that's pretty cool. And we've tested the different AI. We have a good girl voice and a good guy voice. I forget the names of the AI people that we have, but like, that's pretty crazy. You can have conversational, human level conversations with anybody that's interested in Carrot website to start off.
Can I give you my dream feature that I think if you execute on, it'll be impactful to a lot of people's business. And then you have to call it like the Scott feature. So here's what I think all CRMs are missing that nobody's put out there yet. And that is a tie-in on the address level back to like a Black Knight database. In other words, you're going to be able to tell me, hey, which lead sources perform well and what agents perform well and all those types of things. But nobody intelligently ties it back down to that house was built in 1960. It was last purchased 8 years ago. That was a 3-bedroom with 1,400 square feet. Because after doing so many deals, Carlos, and you guys already have the front end, you have all the lead information. We're just not tying that back in and I forget there's the word where you're like enhancing it with all the house asset information. So that way my mail campaigns can be better. My phone campaigns. I just want to target homes between 1960 and 1985 that are 3 bedrooms, that are 2 baths, that are this. I just feel like no one's ever tied in the asset information to the lead source information automatically.
That'd be interesting. And dude, we would always be happy to jam. We're always, that's one amazing thing about being what's called a product-led company. We make all of our decisions of talking to our members or people that are in the space and just essentially build what they want and get feedback from them. So we're always happy to hear, we'd be happy to connect on a call with John. He was one of the guys on our podcast, if you remember, but we would love to do that. So we do pull in some property data where you can see like last sold and what it sold for, mortgage information, stuff like that. But I don't think it goes deep enough of what you're looking for. What it kind of reminds me of is when people are running Google ads and they can send the lead quality back to say, hey, this was a good lead.
Exactly right.
That type of stuff we can do. We
like
send
the
that.
G-Clit,
Yeah. So that type of stuff. But you're looking for more the property itself. And
because there's a magic spot. After a year of doing it, being on your platform, I know what marketing channel is performing best, but if it is mail, okay, but what about the houses themselves? And maybe you already have it. Like you said, knowing the average person is owned for 12 years. My average bedroom is this. The average year house was this. And then I'm sure you guys are tracking spreads too because I might just be making so much more on spreads that were built in pre-1950 or whatever it may be. Anyways, it's just something I've always fucking dreamed for in my CRMs and said, man, I've done so many deals, but I don't really track that side without a lot of manual work. And me on the call side, I can curate my list. I'm in a different marketing channel, so maybe that's why it's more important, because I don't have to worry about talking to people who aren't in my preferred buy box. I get to curate my buy box. And if I can create my buy box off of my deals, then hallelujah.
Yeah. And I mean, some of that could be an AI play too, right? Like
that's what made me think of it.
Yeah. You pull all that stuff. Yeah. There's some cool stuff you could do there. I think that's an AI play though.
Yeah, I agree, man. Yeah, that's cool. Anyways, when you're in front of Santa, you just ask for what's on the Christmas list.
No, 100%. Yeah, gotcha.
Dude, I appreciate it, man. I geek out over stuff like this. I know that, like you said, you're the client facing, but you articulate yourself so well about the product, and I'm excited for you guys. I know because the Nick Perrys of the world and the people that I've been so blessed to be able to meet and work with, and his students that are also my clients on my little call center business, but I see firsthand, I have a number of integrations right now into the InvestorFuse. It is a quality product. I know a lot of people who have the Carrot site, again, a quality product. So it's super cool, man, to get to know you. I know you're going to be here in our country here in a little bit. And I really hope to foster the relationship more, man. And if there's anything I can do for you, just let me know.
Dude, my pleasure. Grateful to be on here. Your team's great to work with. You're the man. Brandon and John, who host the Let's Talk Real Estate podcast too. We've brought that up a few times. Scott's the man. So happy to be here, man. Definitely want to foster the relationship. I'll put a commit, not this next week I'm in Medellin. Yeah. The following time I'll take a quick flight over to Bretta, check out the office, everything like that.
Yeah, we'd love to have you here, man. So thank you so much, brother. If there's anything I can do, let me know. Other than that, how does everybody reach you, man? How do we follow your journey and impact in the industry?
Likewise, man. I'll put my social media in the, I don't know if there's a chat here or not.
It's at Los21. Somebody just popped it up on there?
Yep. That's it right there. That's my Instagram right there. So feel free to hit me up. And then just carrot.com and InvestorFuse.com for the websites.
Great. Awesome, brother. I appreciate it. You have a good day.
Likewise, my man.
Talk to you, my man. Ciao.